Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. The double honors to the elder apostles, the bishop, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of the video is I will remove far off from you the northern army. Right, and this is going into Joel chapter 2. All right, this is Joel chapter 2. We're going to start at verse 18. So Joel 2 and 18 says, Then will the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Awashah be jealous for his land and pity his people. Yea, the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Awashah will answer and say unto his people, Behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and ye shall be satisfied therewith, and I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen. Right? And why is the Lord, going to answer his people? Because, the Israelites are sighing and crying, for the things that are being done here, in these last days. This is, what is it, Ezekiel, we see 9 and 4. Yeah, so this is Ezekiel 9 and 4. It says, And the Lord Yahweh, Bashmi Awashah, said unto him, my mouse. It says Ezekiel 9 and 4. It says, And the Lord Yahweh, Bashmi Awashah, said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem. Right, so this represents the Israelites, right, and first and foremost the elect. It said, And set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Right, so this is why, the Lord Yahweh Bashmi is about to, basically destroy these devils because of, us sighing and crying, and of course, all the abominations that these devils are doing. And of course, it said he will remember his land and his people, right? And basically, you have the Gentiles over there in our land currently fighting over the land. They're fighting, the Palestinians. They're trying to fight the bordering neighbors around our land. So pretty much the sins of these devils have reached up, into the heavens. Let's read this again. Ezekiel 9 and 4. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh watched me, I was sent and go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof." It says, "And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city and smite, let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity." So ultimately, that mark is a mark of the Egyptians, right? Which the elect will have, because we're now, crying unto the Lord, asking him how long, until he comes and destroy this place. But we have people, that don't want to listen to Yahweh Bashmi Awashai, right? Don't want to listen to the words, right? And that's the 2/3 of our people that will be destroyed, and along with the wicked. It says, Ezekiel 9 and 6, "Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark," right? And begin at my sanctuary. Then they begin at the ancient men which were before the house, right? So it's gonna, it's gonna start with the Israelites, of course. The Israelites are going to be judged, right? But ultimately, the point that I wanted was the fact that we're sighing and crying about it, and this is one of the main reasons also that the Lord Yahweh Bashman Washai is going to, come here and destroy these devils. Joel 2:18 again, it says, "Then will the Lord Yahweh Bashman Washai be jealous for his land and pity his people. Yet the Lord Yahweh Bashman Washai will answer and say unto his people, Behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and ye shall be satisfied therewith. I will no more make you reproach among the heathen." And the point of this video, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. His stench shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. Now the east sea here is talking about the Euphrates, right? And the utmost sea is talking about the Red Sea, right? And I got a map here because, they just typed in the Dead Sea. This is the Red Sea here, right? And you get the Euphrates goes over here through here, right? And the land that's barren and desolate, where World War III will be fought, is in this area right here, right? And it's because pursuant to Jeremiah 50 and 45, the least of the flock Israel is drawn out America over to this war. And right now, what Israel is trying to do is attack Iran, right? They have tried multiple times, right? And now we're at the time now where a force is being built up again, right? And this is looking like the time where this thing can break out into something bigger, right? Regarding the nations joining in the war, because there's a lot of things happening right now at this time. Russia and Iran are supporting, Russia and China are supporting Iran more than ever, right? Also, while Trump is doing other things, Nero 47 is doing other things around the world, hindering these China and Russia and things like that. So they're already upset, right? Tensions is there, and these nations, Russia, China, South Africa, I believe, Iran, they just had, which I got this article here. They just had some drills here in the area, and they're still here, right? And now Trump has brought forth a lot of equipment over to the area too. They don't say exactly where his equipment is at, but he's bringing the strike carrier group and all of that. So basically this thing could blow up into what is World War III. Now we know and understand that what will end the war will be the nuclear missiles, but it can start up, right? And this could be the strike that starts it up. Starts it up, right? And we can only give you warning about it because once these things start to unfold, things will start moving rapidly. The MOTB, more Jacob trouble, because they're going to see that a lot can happen, because ultimately they're not going to win this war. So if this happens, they're going to see things happen on the battlefield and whatnot. Pursuant to Revelations 12 and 12, they'll come down with great wrath in the states, to push forth their agenda, and try to get things, started or whatnot. So let me play this video real quick.
Now, let's get into it.
All right. Let me cut this off and see if it's not be fair. Let me cut this off. Just bear with me. I have my speaker on right there. All right. Figure this out. All right, so we should be back with the sound and everything.
Good. As viewers of the channel know, the United States military has been flooding resources and military assets into the regions, including more ships, more aircraft, fighter jets, refueling tankers, cargo planes carrying air defense. Why do you need to do this? Well, if you believe war is imminent, if you believe strikes are imminent, you need to build up your resources in the region, not just to launch the strikes, which is what we are clearly getting ready to do, but it is also to defend against an Iranian counterattack, which would be launched with ballistic missiles. So we want to make sure we have enough to hit the regime hard and then shoot down whatever is coming. That takes time. So we are about a week into the buildup, and we got the planes there pretty much right away. The big question is, when would the aircraft?
All right, so notice he said that takes time, because they're not expecting this to be like before, where Nero 47 went in and he dropped his bombs on the nuclear facility in Iran, and he left and said, okay, let's have peace now. Many countries are advising against this attack. Like I said earlier, Russia and China are helping Iran. A lot of their ships are already in the area because they just had military peace drills that they were doing. And now Nero 47 has brought his military ships into the area, basically getting ready for a strike on behalf of Israel. And what this could boil into is, of course, World War III. Revelations 11 and 14, it says the second war was past, and behold, the third war coming quickly, which is World War III. right? And a lot of experts, and military analysts around the world will tell you that we are already in World War III. It just hasn't, I guess, went hot to a point where they're shooting missiles at each other. What they're doing now is sanctioning each other, tariffing each other, blocking shipping lanes, taking tanker ships, um, and he basically moving away from the dollar. Um, all these different things that are happening, you know, which people say that we're already in World War III, and I would agree, all right, because a lot of things are happening.
Carriers show up. When would the USS Abraham Lincoln arrive? So I'm going to put this on the screen for you. Now, I want to warn you all, I am going to be a little.
And by the way, just my personal humble opinion about this guy, I believe he's like, he's a setup. Because you can check his news and see the things that he talks about, who he doesn't talk about, and what he does talk about, and kind of realize understand who you're dealing with. So I believe he's set up. But either way, he has news for, I guess, what you would want. If you want to know news about what America's about to do and what Israel is about to do, you want to watch this guy because he's for them, 100%. He's gonna cover them. He's very proud and boastful about these things, so he's good for that aspect. If you want to figure out what maybe Iran or somebody else is doing, don't watch this guy.
Coy on the details. There is no point in whatsoever in sharing the ship's exact location, which this does not actually show. This is a projection. I can report to you that the ship has now entered the theater, but we're not here to help our enemies. Yes, they have satellites. Yes, the Chinese are tracking it. Yes, the Russians are tracking it, and they are feeding that information to Iran. But I am not going to give you any information that is not already out there publicly, and I will not be sharing the exact location of the ship because I would never do anything to put our sailors in danger. What I can report to you now is that the USS Abraham Lincoln has reached an undisclosed location where it is now in strike range of Iran. It is in the CENTCOM area of responsibility. As you can see, a projection here on the screen, and I'm going to put this up next. It says a defense official says the destroyer USS Roosevelt has moved into the Eastern Mediterranean, and the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is in the.
All right, so now you have destroyer USS Roosevelt has moved into the Eastern Mediterranean. Now, they're saying that this war is going to be a huge war, right? So they're over here, all right? And there's Israel, so they're over here. Most likely that ship that he wanted to hide is somewhere over here. I mean, we all seen the fucking map. I don't know what he's talking about, but anyway, they're over here somewhere maybe, and they're trying to strike Iran. All right, and like I said, this is looking like this crack is going to be the one that gets everyone upset.
Indian Ocean, according to Business Insider. This is the update everyone has been waiting for. Everyone is like, when is the carrier group going to arrive? When will our planes on the carrier group? And we're going to get into what planes are on the carrier, so stick with me. When will they arrive? When will we be ready for strikes?
Right. So like I said, you want to know all the juicy details about how great America is and where they at and what they bringing and all that. This is got to watch. All right. This is Joel 2:20. It says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, which represents America, now, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate," which is, I gave you the map over there. It says, with his face toward the East Sea, right, which once again is the Euphrates River, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, which goes into the Red Sea, right, and his stink shall come up. So ultimately he will be destroyed. It says, "And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things." All right. So I mean, that was the point I wanted. Let me grab this article right here and we'll read along, because like I said, not only is America over there trying to help Israel to attack Iran, but there's a lot happening in the area right now. Right. And what I'll grab real quick is this, because it's not a coincidence that everyone is in an area at the same time, just like it's not a coincidence that the Arctic is melting and now people are interested in the area, and now Greenland and Denmark is under attack. basically from Nero 47. This is Isaiah 13:4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh Bashmal Shah of hosts mustered the hosts of the battle. Right. So the Most High is causing these things to play out how they're playing out. Right. And that's why you have at this time all these key players pursuant to Ezekiel 38 in the area with battleships talking about a peace drill, which they're going to say, and that goes to First Thessalonians 5:3. When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them. So what I'm going to do is this article here is allowing us to listen to it, and I'm going to go ahead and let it do that. Let me see something. Oh, I'm going to let it do that, and hopefully it doesn't cut out the sound. Let's see.
Abraham Lincoln faces open water in the Gulf of Oman.
That's not fast.
USS Abraham Lincoln, CBN 72, and her carrier strike group, CSG, should shortly be arriving in the Gulf of Oman Sea area, adding to the military options available to the U.S. Central Command in handling the ongoing situation in Iran. Positional data tracking has now clearly demonstrated that the Abraham Lincoln CSG was on the same course as the Iranian bulk carrier Arvan, EMO 9,193,202, and overtook the Iranian vessel as both were traveling westwards through the Straits of Malacca. The CSG, traveling at a much faster cruising speed than the Alvan, soon left the Iranian vessel well behind. In terms of competing forces which the Abraham Lincoln CSG might encounter in the Gulf of Oman, the Chinese 48th Flotilla is still split, with the Type 054A guided missile frigate Ducheng, F-576, watching over the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden while the two other ships of the flotilla make their way back to their home base at the Project 141 Overseas Support Base in Djibouti after completing their participation in Exercise Will for Peace 2026 off South Africa. The 48th Flotilla probably needs some regeneration time in Djibouti before resuming operations, at which time, with the Red Sea relatively quiet, their highest operational priority is likely to be keeping an eye on the Abraham Lincoln CSG. The Russian Pacific Fleet Flotilla, which conducted Exercise Marumex 2025 with Myanmar's Navy in mid-November in the Andaman Sea, has now dispersed. In the Gulf after a spell in the Red Sea is the Russian Udaloi-class frigate RFS Marshal Shaposhnikov, F-543, having been a visiting ship to the Dimdex 2026 defense exhibition held January 19 to 20 in Port Hamad, Qatar. The Marshal Shaposhnikov is probably being supported by the Boris Chilykin-class oiler Boris Butoma, EMO 8,842,557. These two vessels set off with the Gremyashi-class corvette RFS Gremyashi, F-337, from Vladivostok in October, and together made port calls Da Nang, Vietnam, Satahat Naval Base in Thailand and at Sabang, Indonesia. The Gremyashi then spilt off to make port visits alone to Chittagong and then Colombo to mark the 75th anniversary of Sri Lanka's navy. Having reversed course and headed eastwards, the Gremyashi made a visited Brunei Darussalam from December 9 to 12, so the corvette now appears to be returning back to Vladivostok alone. It is also possible that the Russian Starogushi-class corvette Stoiky, F-545, also having participated in Exercise Will for Peace 2026 off Cape Town, will continue her circumnavigation of Africa by cruising up the east coast towards the Arabian Sea area in which the Abraham Lincoln CSG is likely to operate. Russian and Chinese naval vessels often make a number of port visits in the Gulf area at this time of year prior to participating with Iranian naval forces in the annual trilateral exercise Maritime Security Belt. It would be a surprise if the Marshal Shaposhnikov and the corvette Stoiky joined forces with Chinese planned ships from the 48th Flotilla and linger to take part in another iteration of the Maritime Security Belt exercise this year. The Russians and Chinese will probably be wary of becoming entangled with any potential conflict between Iran and the United States, and will leave the Iranians to face the Americans alone, as is the established pattern. As for the Iranians, the 103rd Flotilla has recently completed.
Right, and that's why the scripture says the part of thine heart deceived thee. These devils think they got it all together, and that, the scripture said they shall sit as a lady forever, or Isaiah 47. Let me grab this. Obadiah 1:3 says, the part of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Right? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, then shall I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmawashah. Right, so these devils will be brought down. The scriptures clearly tell us that pursuant to Ezekiel 38, basically Russia and people joined unto Russia, right, Iran being among them, will take them down, right? And we see that China is also alongside Russia, So it is a higher, probability that if they do this attack, Russia and China will be there to help because pursuant to Ezekiel 38, the Persians, which are the Iranians, will join Russia in attacking America and ultimately launching those nuclear missiles. All right, let me see what Isaiah 47 saying real quick. Yeah, so it's the point I was talking about. Let me see. So I'll read a little bit of this. Isaiah 47 and 7. I'll start at Isaiah 47 and 6. It says, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancients hast thou very heavily laid thy guilt. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart. Neither did you remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, right? Carelessly, that saith in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, and one day the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. It says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge have perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am and none else beside you. Now, and this is at a time where they're sanctioning Russia, they're putting tariffs on Russia, they're sanctioning China, putting tariffs on China, taking ships from Russia, their oil tankers, they went into Venezuela and basically took the whole of Venezuela away from China. So they're doing all of this and they're thinking, these people won't do anything to me. This is Psalms 10 and 5. It says, his ways, the wicked, are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Right. And that's why you have Habakkuk 2. Right. The scriptures say how long? So this is not going to go on for much longer. Right. And we see that Esau is nearing his end. It says Habakkuk 2 and 5, it says, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, right, his laws, policy, and whatnot, it says he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, right? And where he's at now is not his home. He's over there, in the Levant region, right? That barren land. It said, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied. But gather unto him all nations and people unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that laid himself a thick clay, which is a debt. And this debt, is messing up the economy right now. You doing this, that, and the third, and people are trying to get around you, right? And you still trying to take up other lands, and you got a whole situation, So it's looking like that time. Right, so going back over here, once again, we got now Iran, of course. We also have Russia, we have China. Now we got some South African people there, because this is where the exercise took place, right? And then you also have America. Of course, you got Israel, all right? So all these nations are being over in this area now at this time, This is Isaiah 34 and 1. It says, come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh Bashmawashah is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Right, so it's already written that they will be destroyed, right? And ultimately, as the war heats up and things intensify here, at the end of all of this, Yahweh Shai pulls up and finishes the job, right? But, as we can see, the Most High is gathering these nations. It says, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, because ultimately, what's going to end this war is the nuclear missiles, right? It says, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment, right? Edom. It says, the sword of the Lord Yahweh Bashmawashah is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, with the blood of lambs and goats, the kidneys of rams. For the Lord Yahweh Bashmawashah have a sacrificing Basra and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. You know, once again, Edom, right? And that's why these missiles are going to be shot over here, you know, on Israel and also America. It says, and the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Right? Once again, the controversy of Zion. Who the Israelites are, who the Israelites are, who really owns the land, and all of that. They're fighting over in that area now, and that's why they're about to go to war now, because the fake Amalekites, or you know, the Amalekites in that land that are pretending to be the Israelites, you know, don't feel safe, you know, around Iran, and they also want, you know, this Greater Israel project that they're trying to work on. But you know, the Most High Yahweh Bashmau Shah is about to come and settle, you know, all of that basically. All right, so you know that's why these devils are, you know, going over there to that land pretty much. And once again, you know, we can only warn, you know, before things kick off, and it's too late, you know. But we can see them, you know, we're measuring the times diligently in itself, right? So pretty much, you know, that's all I had. Lord willing, you edify from the lesson. Shalom to the hopeful elect, to the hopeful elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.